on scene already. They've ordered up 20 more engines on the ground. So that is going to be a lot of boots on the ground. They're also talking about fixed wings being brought in here already. You can see that this is burning in the Hollywood Hills. This is actually going to be on the basin side of the Hollywood Hills. It's kind of closer to the middle, but still closer to the basin side. There you go, LA County Fire working with LA City Fire. We know about this already. Whenever there's a fire in the LA City area, county will respond automatically and vice versa. That was one of the county ships right there dropping some water. That right now is going to be the big part of this fire. These helicopter drops, they're picking up water, dropping water on those hot spots, and trying to slow that forward progression is what is going to make or break this fire. No, you guys train. Go right ahead. I'll be quiet. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Train. It's all right. I'll be quiet. You guys do your thing. So the firefighters are first on scene, the professionals that they are. They've been basically looking where this fire is, the terrain, and the type of winds. The wind's very light this afternoon, but because of the terrain, they are very concerned about a lot of homes out here. They're talking about a couple, actually 2 neighborhoods. I'm still trying to pick out exactly which neighborhoods they're talking about. We know that the fire will move quicker uphill and much slower downhill. So these homes right here, definitely near the fire, and this could change very quickly, might be one of the neighborhoods that they're talking about. There are some homes on the other side of the hill. This is a hillside, and then as it drops down onto the other side, there are more homes over there. Right now, though, LA City Fire, they're working to get more groups on the ground. They're talking, like I said, 20 other engines have been ordered up. It's already a second alarm fire. This probably is going to put it into a major emergency, but this is a brush fire. They're also talking about bringing fixed-wing aircraft out here already. Now, the fire itself, slow moving. That is a good thing. The fire itself, they're talking about 5 acres. That's a good thing. Putting out a lot of smoke, making a heck of a picture, creating probably a lot of nervousness down there, especially for people that are living in the Hollywood Hills out here near the Benedict Canyon area. I can assure you, LA City Fire here on scene, they have already working up plans. I've been listening to one of their channels, and they've been working feverishly to get this thing into check as quickly as possible, obviously. But, just pointing out the obvious to you guys. Right now, though, they're about 5 acres of fire. Benedict Canyon, they say it's 2 separate fires running up a hillside up here. We've been taking a look. There are homes in the area. Immediate, in my mind, when you say immediate danger, that would mean that there's flames licking at the porch of somebody's home. That we don't see. But don't get it wrong. If I owned one of those homes down there in that lower part of the canyon and I saw that up on the hillside, I would be very concerned. And I'm sure the firefighters from LA City Fire, that's what they're worried about. Go ahead, Annette. They're calling it Benedict Canyon, but if you guys know something better, then I've been listening to one of their command channels. All right, cool. Simon Desk, what's the cross on Benedict Canyon? Paseo del Mar? That can't be right. Portola. Portola. Copy, thank you. I am on 6. Let me turn the scanner way down to make sure you're talking to me. I'm not hearing you on 6. Let me double check that I'm on 6. No, I'm on 5. Now I'm on 6. Thank you. Gotcha. There's a lot of hitting going on inside the aircraft. Physical contact. Yeah. Actually, when he started working here, he had hair. Hey, Booth, what's going on? Test, 1, 2, 1, 2. Actually, I saw it was a little low. I just brought it up. Be quiet. Stop talking. Standing by. I want to get the name of that street that's up on the top of that hill. The one that leads to the grass. Well, we're taking a look at a fire out here in the Benedict Canyon area. This is the Hollywood Hills. Take a look at this. Extremely scary stuff for people that are living out here, and it also is putting out a huge loom up. LA City Fire is the first responding unit to this. I'm sorry, we've got a little hectic up here. A lot of people talking at me. But LA City Fire, the first ones to arrive out here. This is going to be Benedict Canyon and Portola Drive. That's the main crosses where this fire is burning. Now, there's a lot of bad out here because it is a brush fire. There are a lot of homes out here. LA City Fire saying that homes are in direct line of the fire, in the direct path of the fire, and they are threatened. We're seeing some neighborhoods down here low. We're also seeing some neighborhoods up here high. If there's some good things to report about this fire right now, we can tell you it's only 5 acres. And with the number of resources from LA City Fire arriving here on scene, hopefully they're going to be able to get this thing into check quickly. Now, I don't know if this has actually gone to major emergency. We know it went to second alarm almost right away. And then after that, we started hearing the LA City Fire, the firefighters on the ground, talking about how they needed 20 more trucks to arrive out here. So that is a large amount of firefighters on the ground. In the air, LA County Fire, that's kind of the deal they've got going out here right now with LA City Fire. They did it last season. They're doing it again this season. If there's a brush fire in the LA City area, LA County Fire will send a helicopter as well, and vice versa. There's one of the LA County Fire helicopters right there. So they're joining the fight already, but they're already talking about bringing in tankers with the FOS check. So that is already in the works. This fire again burning off of Benedict Canyon near Portola. Right now they're saying several homes in the path of the flames. Only 5 acres, light winds, those are the pluses, but these flames, they are moving uphill very quickly. It is a hotter day, and we all know how quickly fire can move. Oh, sorry about that. We've got a lot going on this afternoon in the helicopter, so I'm sorry about that when we're watching these flames and listening to what the firefighters, the LA City firefighters' plans are. Right now, they're talking about these homes down here in this lower area. Now, we've watched enough of these to know that the fire usually doesn't burn in a downhill direction, but in this case, they're always very concerned about any homes in the area. You can see the smoke covering that up. This 5 acres moving very quickly this afternoon, and you can see how much smoke it is putting up. Now, they have helicopters in the air. They've got people on the ground. We have yet to see some of those folks, the firefighters making their way, the brush patrol guys making their way up into this area. The brush out here, that's the fuel. Now, this is pretty thick brush out here. I can't remember the last time we had a fire so close to homes in the Hollywood Hills area. You can see when that fire gets caught up into that brush, that chaparral, it really starts to burn, and then again there's homes so close by. Embers, they're obviously going to be an issue, but the light winds, that's going to fall into the plus column. That's going to be one of the good things. We have got light winds this afternoon. Temperatures a little hotter than normal, but definitely not into the triple digits. I haven't heard anybody talking about the humidity right now, so that's also something that they're concerned about. Now, they're dropping water. They're trying to slow the progression of the fire. Obviously, the fact that it's in two separate, they call these fingers up here in the canyon area. This would be one of those, and then there's another one on the other side. So that's going to make the firefighting a little bit more difficult. Right now, though, a lot of smoke, a lot of fast-moving flames, and a lot of homes in the area. LA City Fire, they've got their hands full this afternoon.
Yes, they sure do, Stu. And from that engine that we saw on the ground near some of the homes, it looks like the fire is at least not very close at this point. It looks like the wind is blowing away from the direction of that community, but of course all of that smoke is going over other streets that we can see. If the fire is able to spread, it would definitely threaten the homes on that other block, and I'm sure fire engines are working to get into that area as we speak.
The fire trucks, we can see them down there on some of those canyon roads. I'll kind of move away from the flames here just for a second to show you some of that response. Now, LA City Fire, that's their job. They got to be close by all the time. And when they're talking about 20 extra engines, they're bringing these fire trucks from farther distances than the ones that are in the area here to respond. And you have to remember, when they first got here, this thing bumped up to a second alarm almost immediately. So that means all the engines in the area were responding this to begin with, and then they asked for an extra 20 fire trucks to show up, or fire. So that's a lot of boots on the ground. That truck we showed you right there, that's one of the brush response trucks. Those are the ones that we see them carrying all the guys with the gear that really do the brunt work out here. Right now, the most activity to slow the fire is going to be the helicopters. That one LA County fire helicopter that we've seen right there, that Firehawk, working very, very quickly, picking up water and dropping it. This thing we've seen make at least 3 to maybe 4 drops in just a few moments that we've been here. So these guys working very hard to keep these flames from getting closer to the homes. Now, fire behavior and how the fire moves, that's what these guys are trained to do. So when we see them make a drop like that, like we just saw, somebody at home, they might be saying, oh, he totally missed the flames, or why did he do that? That type of activity is why these firefighters get paid so well. They are dropping in areas to keep the flames from moving. They're doing structure protection. They know that the fire is going to move naturally up that hillside. That hillside does have a peak, and a lot of the homes that we see on the other side are on the lower side of it. Now, we're always very hopeful that no homes are destroyed, but right now these flames are still moving very, very quickly. Most of the activity is going to be in the air, dropping water, but do not be fooled. LA City Fire, they have got a lot of structure protection down here on these streets, and of course they are ready. If those flames get close, they've got the hoses and the water set up, and they'll jump into action.
Absolutely, Stu. I've been reporting on the ground when they do those drops, and the closer it is to those homes and the communities, the better, because it isn't about what the fire's at right now, it's where it could lead. So what they're doing is setting up a barrier, a wall, so to speak, to block if the flames do go in that direction. And right now we have Margaret Stewart from LA City Fire on the phone with us. Margaret, are you there? Margaret, can you hear us? Okay, we'll give it a moment to try. Yeah, I think Margaret isn't there. So to circle around to where we're looking at right now, it's the Beverly Hills area, the 9800 block of Portola Drive off of Benedict Canyon Drive. Some of the streets that you're going to be aware of are Yoakum Drive, and Beverly Glen Park is on to the left of what you're looking at right now, and to the right is South Beverly Park, and then the Beverly Park community. So you can see there are homes all around where this brush fire is. It's estimated to be about 5 acres, as Stu just said, and he's been talking to the fire department. As I'm talking right now to you, he's talking to the fire department to get the latest news. And you can see engines on the ground right now. They have hoses out. They are doing structure protection to make sure homes are protected. You can see they're setting up lines. They are putting out hoses. This is all to beat away the flames before they could get to the area. You can see the smoke, and the smoke is going in the other direction, but that wind could change on a dime. And we know that the humidity is higher than it has been for the past few days, which can also hamper their efforts. But right now, 5 acres burning in the Benedict Canyon area of Beverly Hills. 9800 block of Portola Drive is where firefighters initially got the call around near 2 p.m. So this fire has been burning for almost 40 minutes at this point. Firefighters, we have LA County Fire on the scene, LA City Fire. They said they recently called for 20 extra engines as backup. So they're trying to get as many units out there as they can. They also have helicopters overhead doing drops, and our Stu Mundel is also in the sky bringing these pictures and also has the latest. What's going on out there, Stu, right now?
You know, I'm right there with you. This fire, it's kind of shocking to see. It's one of those moments when you kind of realize when these flames get so close to homes, you start to realize what a danger any of these fires are out here. A lot of times we'll see these brush responses in areas where there may be a ranch or there might be a structure nearby, but this is an area where it is very densely populated. Benedict Canyon near the Beverly Hills area, we see a lot of homes out here. The only plus that we can really say right now is that at this moment, or at this second while we're watching these flames, they are climbing up the hillside. They are kind of moving away from a lot of those homes that are lower on the hill. And there is an area out here where there are no homes, and that's where the bulk of the fire is right now. LA City Fire doing an amazing job out here coordinating efforts to get those helicopters dropping water, get the boots on the ground close enough to those flames to actually start putting those lines and start doing something on the ground to keep that fire from spreading. The biggest plus this afternoon, obviously, is the fact that it is very light winds. Now, that 5-acre...
Okay, it looks like we're losing... Do we have you back, Stu?
Yeah, I
we
would
just
believe
lost you
so,
for a
yes.
second.
But the boots on the ground, they were the ones that were saying that 5 acres, and that number was earlier on, and we know that we could just watching how quickly these flames are spreading as it's climbing up these hillsides. So that 5-acre number may have already doubled by now. So the fire's still moving uphill mostly. That's one of the LA City Fire helicopters right there. The light winds, that's a huge plus this afternoon. We do know that the fire itself will create some sort of winds by itself, the hot air moving, and that'll create those gusts, and it will actually feed the flames as it climbs up the hillside. Only thing that we can say this afternoon is that what we're seeing is the fire department, the LA City Fire, here on scene, their quick response, the quick activity, how they got this plan together so quickly is what is going to save homes in the long run. The fire right now still moving very quickly up these hillsides near homes. There is a lot of smoke being put out. I can guarantee you anybody in that neighborhood is going to be concerned about about the smoke in the area. I'm sure they're getting other calls. Maybe they don't see what's going on, but this is putting out a lot of smoke. They're saying 5 acres. I'm sure that number might have grown by now. Also, something else that everybody has to think about is they ordered up all these engines and all this manpower, but these streets out here are very, very small. You can take, as we push in here, you can see that people basically parking their cars up against their homes because these roads are small. That means that the fire equipment is going to have a hard time getting up into here, and they're not going to bring a bunch of engines in there. They're going to be very cautious because if something changes, they're going to want to be able to escape that area. So they've got that in mind as well. Fire department, they're going to be bringing their guys in, maybe dropping them off. Sometimes we've even seen them drop them off with the helicopters. This afternoon, though, the helicopter's very busy. When I say that, I'm talking about the LA County Fire helicopter and the LA City Fire helicopter, very busy dropping water, trying to slow that forward movement, and also doing structure protection. Right now, you can see some of those very expensive homes, and they basically are falling underneath the plumes of smoke. But you have to realize that there actually is a hill between those homes and the actual active fire this afternoon. So right now, it is still it's basically a battle to keep these flames away from those homes. Light winds, a huge plus. Lower humidity is actually a big excuse me. Higher humidity is a big plus for the firefighters this afternoon, and of course they're saying that this is terrain driven. The bad side of this is the homes are so close to these big flames, and the brush in this area hasn't burned in so long, so there's plenty of fuel out here. Right now, it's pretty much anybody's guess how this is going to go. I'm rooting for the home team, being the LA City Fire and LA County Fire, and of course we're going to keep an eye on this. Right now, we haven't heard of any mandatory evacuations, but I can assure you that the firefighters probably knocking on a lot of doors down there on Portola Drive, saying that it might be a good idea for you guys to grab some of your stuff and get out, just in case the situation changes. You have to understand the homes that we're showing you right there, and I believe that's going to be Portola Drive. The homes that we're showing you right there are on the low side of the hills. So the flames would have to actually climb down that hillside, and with these light winds, that's going to be a very slow-moving fire if that actually starts happening. Right now, though, LA City Fire on the ground, in the air, LA County Fire assisting. We've been watching that Firehawk doing amazing work, picking up water, doing quick turnaround time, and that is very important as well. They have the crews out there. They fired the LA County Fire helicopter, the Firehawk, picking up water quickly, bringing it out here, dropping it on these hot spots, slowing that forward movement, and of course, as we've been talking about, structure protection, very important as well. Just in the short time we've been here, the smoke actually seems to be about the same, but the actual amount of huge flames, that fire, we're seeing less and less. So that is very good news, but by no means is this fire anywhere near out. And of course, there's plenty of homes still in danger, and of course, plenty of lives and people that may have to evacuate quickly.
Thank you so much, Stu. Again, if you're just tuning in, we have breaking news coverage over Beverly Hills. A 2-alarm fire burning right now, reported around 2 p.m. It's been burning for almost 45 minutes now. And we have our Amber Lee joining us with weather conditions. How does it look out there, Amber?
All right. Well, Suzanne, as we've been talking about all day, it's the hottest day of the week. So we have this high pressure system sitting over the area. It's pumping in not only warm and dry air, but we're looking at these northeasterly winds. So that means those offshore winds coming in, and they're pretty light right now, under 10 miles per hour for the Hollywood Hills area, but occasional gusts up to about 8. So we could see occasional gust of wind picking up. And so the relative humidity right now is at 68%. It is still pretty dry outside. We are talking pretty typical for this time of the year, but because temperatures remain well above average, and also in that part of the hills, as Stu was saying, we haven't seen a lot of rain at all this season, and so we haven't seen fires. The vegetation is very dry, and so you can see to the west of where this fire is burning, we're looking at a Stone Canyon reservoir, and then we're also looking at when the winds are pushing in from the northeast, we're going to start to see that smoke blowing toward downhill toward the ocean in that area. So we're probably going to see a lot of that smoke drifting to neighborhoods to the south of where this fire is burning. So I'm going to zoom in really quick so you kind of get an idea where exactly this fire is burning. So you can see that this is just a very rugged terrain. We're looking at very steep hills here. So we're going to continue to probably see fire crews go through these hills, but it's very dry. Once we get past today, we start to cool off just a tad because that high pressure system will start to weaken and move off to the east.
Thank you so much, Amber. We want to welcome viewers on CBS 2 of breaking news coverage of a 2-alarm fire in Beverly Hills, specifically in the Beverly Crest area that has been burning since at least 2 p.m. This fire's been going on for almost 45 minutes now. It was 5 acres initially that we were aware of. I'm sure the fire has spread since then. There are LA County and LA City fire helicopters and engines on the ground working to stop the flames from spreading, but also setting up Phos-check and an invisible firewall to prevent the flames from spreading to homes. So when you see those helicopters overhead doing drops, they're trying to prevent the fire spreading to those homes nearby. And our Stu Mundel is live over the scene right now. You've been out there since the beginning, Stu. How's it looking?
Well, you know, the efforts from the firefighters actually are being seen out here. That run that we just saw where the LA County Fire helicopter, that Firehawk, doing that long run along the top of that hillside, cooling the ground, setting up water so when those flames reach that top of the hillside, they're going to have wet grass to deal with, and that's going to burn much slower, if maybe even put out the fire. That was the plan right there, and I'm sure that's going to work very well. Now, as you mentioned earlier on, this is a 2-alarm fire. They did ask for additional units. Besides that, they we're talking about ordering up fixed-wing aircraft. That means the planes that drop the red goo, the Phos-check, the fire retardant. We've been talking about that as well. Another plus in this whole situation is Stone Canyon Reservoir, very close by. That's the reservoir we're showing you right there, and that's the LA County Fire helicopter. We were talking about how quickly this helicopter has been picking up water and then bringing it back over to the fire. Stone Canyon, probably less than 2 miles away from the actual flames, and you can see it kind of just setting down. It looks like it's landing on the water, but I can tell you it's not, and it's picking up water right now. There's an actual hose that drops down, and that thing is going to fill itself up very quickly, and it's going to make its way back over to that fire and do another drop. So that is one of the reasons why LA County Fire, that helicopter is so effective, and we have been watching it make so many drops this afternoon. That's where the fire is. Now, mandatory evacuations, I've been trying to get that kind of nailed down. There are a lot of homes out here, and they are very close to these flames, and of course, those small streets out here, that's going to be something that firefighters are going to be thinking about for safety. safety. And they're going to want, if the problem happens, they don't want to have everybody running out at the same time. And that's one of the reasons why they do the mandatory evacuations early on. Also, they're not going to clog these streets up with their fire apparatus. They're going to bring a couple of engines up that are able to handle the amount of structure protection they may need. Right now, though, the fire is still very, very active. Over 10 acres are burning out here, and homes are threatened.
So much, Stu. We'll stay out there. We're going to go to Margaret Stewart with LA City Fire. Margaret, what can you tell us?
Hello. We now have this estimated at over 20 acres burned. We still have structures under immediate threat along the ridges of Yoakum Drive and Portola Drive, with the fire burning towards Benedict Canyon Drive. We have over 150 LAFD firefighters with additional resources from county, both air and ground. We have requested fixed-wing aircraft. I don't have information on their arrival yet. And we are anticipating evacuation information, but we want to emphasize to all residents in that area that I described, in the Yoakum Drive and Portola Drive ridges to Benedict Canyon, to leave now, to safely gather their belongings. There are a lot of tight roads there. We have a large number of resources that need access, so we don't want to slow down our firefighting efforts. So please just stay out of that area and let us get to work.
Oh, and thank you so much, Margaret. To get a more specific idea of the location, I'm looking at a map. It says Beverly Glen and South Beverly Park. These are parts of Beverly Hills, correct?
Well, it's the Beverly Crest area. It's Benedict Canyon Drive is the direction the fire is burning towards. The two ridge lines threatened are Yoakum Drive and Portola Drive.
And these are dead-end streets off of Benedict, so I'm sure there are firefighters on the ground trying to help people get evacuated immediately on those streets, because I saw the engines rolling out hoses and setting up to protect those homes.
Yes, we have structured defense along both of those ridge lines. So our firefighters on the ground are defending those homes, while our air resources are making the hard attack against the fire in the canyon, because we can't physically get down there. So we have that teamwork happening. This is how we operate. We're defending the structures as well as our air assets making the attack.
And how does the fire look right now? Because when we first reported it about 50 minutes ago, it was at 5 acres. Now it's up to 20. Does that mean it's growing quickly? Are they getting a good handle of it?
It is growing. This is early in the stages still, but the air resources is what's going to help stop the forward progress. But we have not been able to do that yet. They have a lot of drops they have to hit along those ridge lines. So it is currently in the growing stages. The initial estimates are always a bit difficult, because we're talking about resources that are trying to estimate acreage when they're down in a valley and they can't get a good view. So the initial estimate was probably a little bit under, until we were able to get the helicopters on scene to give us a good overhead view of the scope of the fire.
And Margaret, you mentioned evacuations for Portola Drive and Yoakum Drive. Is that mandatory?
Well, we don't. Let me clarify that. I said we do not yet have the evacuation details. Okay. We don't have official evacuation orders. That's the area that I'm saying, if you live in that area, then the wise thing is to exit and to not return if you're at work. If you live on that Yoakum Drive, Portola Drive off of Benedict Canyon.
Okay, so
but we do not yet have any official evacuation orders.
Okay, but you're recommending to avoid the area if you do live there, and you recommend they leave.
Yes.
If they are home right now watching this.
Yes, that would be the safe and prudent thing to do.
And how are things looking on Benedict Canyon Drive? It's already such a thin, narrow area, but a lot of people use that to use as a cut through going to and from work. Are they setting up perimeters where they're only allowing in residents? Have they put up any blocks?
I'll have to refer you to our law enforcement partners. LAPD handles all of the traffic flow, but I can tell you that on Benedict Canyon Drive, between Yoakum and Portola, there is likely going to be zero access. So I can't confirm that definitively. As I said, LAPD handles that, but we have heavy activity in that area, so it's best to avoid.
Well, it seems like the nearest main thoroughfare would be North Beverly Glen Boulevard, and that's on the other side. The fire is nowhere near that, so that would probably be a good alternate route for people who are trying to get through that area. But right now, looking at the fire, it seems that firefighters do have a good handle. Do you know which direction the fire may be spreading to? It looks like it's heading toward Yoakum Drive.
The fire is generally moving through that canyon between Yoakum Drive and Portola Drive towards Benedict Canyon Drive. And I'll be happy to come back, in a few minutes when we have more information.
Well, thank you so much, Margaret.
Thank you.
Of LA City Fire, updating it that there are no official evacuation orders under effect for the Beverly Crest area, but for the streets of Portola Drive and Yoakum Drive, they are recommending, if you are home, you are being asked to leave. It is not mandatory. Nobody's being forced to, but you can see the activity out there. There are a lot of drops happening, water drops, trying to prevent the fire from spreading. And Amber, we see the white smoke, which is usually a good sign if it's moving away from homes, and also that they're getting some kind of handle on the fire. But how does it look to you, especially with this humidity? Is it helping or hurting?
All right, so we do have very dry conditions, especially in this area. The only humidity that we're seeing is a little bit of that marine influence right near the coast. But right now, because we're getting to the hottest part of the day, temperatures are only going to get hotter before they start to cool down. So here's a look at my graphic. There isn't really a weather station where this fire is burning. So I have the Hollywood Hills to the east, Beverly Hills to the south, and then Bel Air just to the southwest. So you kind of get an idea. Temperature-wise, it's in the mid to upper 70s. We're looking at some lighter winds. So a little bit to the east, more of that northeasterly wind, that typical offshore type of pattern continues to blow in more of that warm, dry air, and then occasional gusts. We're looking at gusts anywhere from about 6 miles to about 10 miles, depending on in relation to where this fire is burning. And because, as we know, the fire typically creates its own type of weather pattern because it's so hot. We have that hot air rising. So right now, firefighters are dealing with a bunch of different type of scenarios, because not only is it hot and dry outside, we have some lighter winds, but it could create even gustier conditions for them as they get closer. And this is also a very rugged terrain as they're trying to get in there and trying to fight this fire. As you mentioned, it's good news that we're seeing some white smoke, but we're also seeing some darker color smoke closer to where that fire is burning. So it's still going on. But as I can tell you is that we're looking at very hot conditions, and we're hoping that once we head into the next few hours, some of that marine influence should be pushing back, and maybe that should help firefighters as they try to get a better handle on this fire. But from now until then, we're looking at very hot and dry conditions until we start to see things sort of shift gears once we get into the evening.
Thank you so much, Amber. If you're just joining us, we're over a 2-alarm fire burning in the Beverly Crest area. We just got the most recent numbers. It's at 20 acres. It was originally reported at 5 acres just about an hour ago. And our Stu Mundel has been overhead for almost the last hour. And we've seen a lot of engines set up near homes. We've seen them rolling out hoses. I know you're over the flames right now. And they are basically all surrounding to the left and above homes, neighborhoods of these dead-end streets where it's really tough to get vehicles in there anyway on a normal day. So how's it looking out there right now, Stu?
Well, those flames, you're 100% correct. There are homes in almost every direction these flames could move to. Margaret Stewart from LA City Fire, she's getting that information, she's disseminating it, and putting it out in a way that is so precise. I'm always amazed. Those public information officers, they really know their job. Let's look around and let's poke around right now as we're watching this fire still burning, but the firefighting efforts still continuing. What I'm showing you right there, that's going to be Benedict Canyon. So that's the Benedict Canyon area that they've been talking about. Now, Portola and Yoakum, those are the two smaller streets that are actually going up into that hillside in the canyon. Portola is the closest to us, and Yoakum is the one a little bit towards the top of the screen. So the original call actually came out basically at the dead end of Portola. So you can see a bunch of fire engines right there basically at the end of the street, and they are out there, structure protection, and they're looking at the area where that fire started. Now, this is a very rugged hillside, and the terrain we're talking about very steep. and there is a lot of fuel out here. There hasn't been much of a burn out here in a long time, so this area has been growing has grown unchecked for quite a while. LA County Fire doing another great drop right there. Now these flames raced up these hillsides, basically jumped from hill to hill to hill, and made its way over towards that Yoakum neighborhood, or that Yoakum Street. This is another area that Margaret Stewart was just talking about. LA City Fire recommending that if you're in this area, you should be thinking about, if not doing, grabbing some of your stuff and leaving the area. Now that's precautionary. That's basically they're erring on the side of caution. In case something does happen, these flames start moving down, maybe winds pick up, we don't really know. Fire behavior it can be predicted, but sometimes very unpredictable. So they are asking those folks to basically grab their things and move along at this time. Right now, though, the fire does seem to be burning in an area where there are no homes, but there are homes close by. It's kind of hard to say because we just said there's all these homes in immediate danger, and now we're saying, well, the fire's burning in an area where there aren't any. These are hillsides, very steep hillsides. Once it gets to the top, you can see homes basically peeking through the smoke right there. Are those homes in immediate danger? If that was my home, I would say my house is in immediate danger of fire. So I concur, where I totally agree with what they're saying. Now, we know from fire behavior watching, we only know by watching, by no means am I a fire expert, but we've watched a lot of these, and we see how the flames will basically run up these hillsides, and once they get to those peaks, they pretty much slow down. But the sad thing on this point is right at that peak, there are some homes right on the other side. So there are homes in the line of the fire. We can see this fire climbing up the hillside, homes in the area. Now, at this time, we haven't heard of any structures being damaged. We haven't heard of any structures being lost. We haven't heard of any injuries. We are finding out that the fire basically 4 times the size of what we originally heard. In the beginning, we were hearing 5 acres, but this fire basically clearing out a lot of brush, climbing up a lot of hillsides up here this afternoon. LA County, LA City, we know now on the ground and in the air, working to keep this fire in check. We haven't seen the dozers out here yet. One of the reasons is, we were talking about it, accessibility. How easy is it to get out here? And of course, when all those fire trucks making their way through those tiny canyon streets and then up into the smaller residential canyon streets, it's going to be very difficult. The helicopter's doing an amazing job, dropping a lot of water this afternoon. That LA County Fire helicopter picking up water over at Franklin Canyon. LA City Fire, they've got their ships up here as well, dropping water, and they are slowing the progression of the flames. Has it stopped? No, it hasn't. Is there any containment numbers? There aren't any. But light winds, that's a plus. Lower humidity, that's not so great, but we've had a lot worse out here. But we are hearing it is one of the hottest days of the week, and it's going to make things difficult for those firefighters down there on the ground. Right now, we just are keeping an eye on these flames. We're keeping an ear on the radio, just in case they does start getting closer to one of those homes out there. Just know that LA City Fire, LA County Fire, these are some of the best firefighters in the world, and they are down there right now protecting structures in this area. Again, where is this burning? Very close to Benedict Canyon. The original call was at the end of Portola near Benedict Canyon. So I'm going to show you that actual intersection. That would be right there. Benedict Canyon, I'm trying to figure that out as well. I heard Ms. Stewart talk about they're not sure if it's closed yet or not. I would almost guarantee if it is not closed to through traffic, it will be closed shortly to get the firefighting equipment up here safely and quickly. Of course, they'll allow the vehicles to leave, but allowing them back into this area, that may be some time. The fire, though, still continuing to burn, running up hillsides out here, 20 acres plus, and this is in the Benedict Canyon.
Thank you, Stu, for joining us, and we want to say goodbye to Channel 2 and welcome viewers on continuing coverage for KCAL 9 News.
Hello, everybody. I'm Juan Fernandez, now joining Suzanne Marquez here for continuing coverage of this brush fire burning in Benedict Canyon. Started off pretty small at about 5 acres, but of course, you know, this area is highly brushed, also lots of homes in the area, so even a small brush fire starting at 5 acres can definitely do a lot of damage. And as we just heard our Stu Mundel tell us moments ago, it's now grown to 20 acres. And with the conditions out there, with the high heat, the low humidity, and I'm not sure how windy it is out there, but those are definitely at least 2 out of the 3 major concerns for brush fires here in the Los Angeles area. And on the left side of your screen, you see Sky 9. They're giving us an aerial view of the area. And for the most part, this fire is being fought from the air. So we are going to see a lot of air resources in there, plus a lot of structure protection down on the ground. You see there from the shot there, lots of windy roads up there. Benedict Canyon does quite a bit of winding work there. And I understand, Suzanne, I heard you saying earlier that right now they're asking people, if you are a resident of the area, to stay away from this area. There's not a lot of ins and outs in Benedict Canyon, right?
That's right. Off of Benedict Canyon, the areas where they're recommending people leave, it's not mandatory. There's no official evacuation order. It's for Portola Drive and Yoakum Drive. This is a 2-alarm fire. They have brought out resources in full force. LA County and LAFD, 150 units both on the air and on the ground, trying to prevent these flames from spreading into the community that surrounds these hillsides, these steep hillsides where the fire can run up the canyon quickly. And just on the other side, we saw homes to the north that are being threatened. They are definitely in immediate danger, as Stu Mundel was saying. Now, this fire was reported at 5 acres around 2 o'clock, and an hour later, it's at over 20 acres. Margaret Stewart of LA City Fire was telling us that they don't have any official word about leaving, but if you are at work and you're watching this coverage, you probably don't want to return home if you can avoid it. You can imagine how the traffic is right now on Benedict Canyon, just trying to get to the area. She said to get to the area of Portola Drive and Yoakum Drive, it's probably blocked off. But if you are home watching this coverage, you want to grab your belongings, your pets, anything very valuable. But the main thing is to get out and save yourself just in case the wind changes. We saw some white smoke, which is always a good sign of what's burned off. But as you see in the top left corner of your screen, that's where the fire is spreading and where it's growing.
And just look where the fire hasn't hit yet. There's a lot of green brush still in the area that for sure over the last few weeks, as things have gotten drier and hotter, all that brush is now very brittle and can very easily catch fire. And luckily the smoke, we do see it kind of heading straight up, so not too windy right now. So the threat of embers being, is definitely a lot less. But just look at all those homes to the left side of your screen, quite a bit.
That's right. And Amber, we're looking at how it seemed like there was more wind earlier, but now we see it going straight up into the air. As Juan mentioned, it seems like maybe the wind has died down a little bit, which is a good sign.
Right. We're glad that this isn't one of those windy days that we normally talk about, but we definitely have elevated fire danger. So this is the reason why we've been talking about this being the hottest day of the week. That high pressure system is still sitting overhead. It's peaking. It's not until tomorrow we slowly start to see those temperatures go down. So today, as we head into probably the next hour, that's when we get into the hottest part of the day. We don't have a weather station near this area, so I put up about 3 to kind of give you an idea, the type of conditions that these fire crews are facing. So to the east of where this fire is burning is the Hollywood Hills. We're looking at a high of 78, winds coming in offshore light at 6 miles per hour, gusts up to 6 at times. To the south of where this fire is burning is Beverly Hills, where they have a high of 74. Earlier, it was a little bit hotter. It just went down by a couple degrees. Winds coming in from the south, so we have more of that sea breeze pushing through. And then to the west of where this fire is burning is Bel Air. We're looking at a high currently of 73. We also have that sea breeze. It's about 10 miles per hour, so that should help firefighters. But again, we're heading into the hottest part of the day, usually about 4 p.m., 5 p.m., and then we start to slowly cool down. So we're hoping that we sort of turn that corner within the next couple of hours to help firefighters as they try to get a handle on this fire that's burning more than 20 acres.
Yeah, and look at that, 94 degrees right now in Studio City on the right part of your screen there. So definitely a hot day out there. Firefighters are dealing with this, as well as the residents who live right off Benedict Canyon. I want to go back up live to Stu Mundel, live in Sky 9. Stu, you've been up while we've been updating our viewers as to what's going on. What's going on up there?
Well, Juan, I got to tell you, you're updating me as well. We're definitely listening to every word you're saying down there. Let's get everybody kind of settled in here, get an idea exactly what's burning and where this exactly is. Now, the road that I'm showing you right here, this is going to be Benedict Canyon. And actually, that intersection that we just happened to be pushing in on is going to be Portola. Now, the original call for this fire was on Portola near Benedict Canyon. It actually is the end of Portola. It basically is a cul-de-sac right there. And you can see that the fire basically moved its way up that hillside and started moving its way northward from there. You got Yoakum Drive right on the other side of that, so that fire was moving kind of up that hill and then spotted onto the other side of the hill. We're going to get LA County Fire doing a beautiful drop right there. These drops that they're doing right there, that is going to be to slow the fire, slow that fire progression. When they drop on those ridge lines, they're basically getting that area wet, so when the fire reaches that point, it's going to be more difficult for it to ignite and burn. So Yoakum Drive and Portola are the two streets that are basically where most of this fire is right now. 20 acres plus is what's burning. LA County is in the air and on the ground. LA City, though, they're the ones, this is their fire as it would be, is the majority, and they're in the air and on the ground as well. We've been watching, the reason why we moved the helicopter over here, Brendan, our pilot this afternoon, basically moving us more to the south, looking to the north. To get an idea where this fire could go as it's making its way up the hillside. This road right here we understand is Basin Road. So right now you can still see people in this area. No fire protection out here, but don't be fooled by that. LA City Fire, LA County Fire, they know what they're doing, and they are aware that there are homes on the other side of that hill. But remember, that fire is going to run up that hillside, and we just saw a drop right there, a helicopter making a drop, cooling this area. So once it gets to that point, it's going to slow. And it's going to be more difficult for those flames to basically go down that hillside. Now, LA City Fire, LA County Fire, they are professionals. I've said it 1,000 times, probably the best in the world, and they are out here right now protecting these homes and keeping an eye on where the fire is going and how it is behaving. And they are making these fire drops from the air. Now, we do know there's a number of boots on the ground, and it is a little difficult to see exactly where 150 firefighters may be hiding in all this smoke, but I can assure you they are down there right now. They're making plans, if not hiking up hillsides, and soon they'll be starting to do that, cutting the lines as we've seen in the past, where they basically start walking that perimeter and basically just making a line in the dirt to stop that fire progression. The light winds, that's the only big plus this afternoon. LA City Fire, Margaret Stewart was talking to us earlier on, and her information on point, excellent, and she was saying, it sounds like common sense sometimes. She was basically telling the residents that are in the area of Portola and Yoakum, where this fire is right now, that they should, even though there isn't a mandatory evacuation going on, it would be wise to grab your things and basically move along and try to get out of the area earlier, just in case something does change and the situation becomes dire and desperate and people aren't scrambling to get out of this area. Right now, though, the fire departments are up here. The biggest part of the work that we've been seeing is from the helicopters and the aerial assets, as it would be. They've been dropping water. They've been keeping these flames in check. Now, does sound kind of devastating. The original reports were about 5 acres. Now we're hearing 20. I can almost tell you that number is going to grow as the evening continues. But what you have to remember is the area that is burning, it is brush, it is thick brush, it is very steep terrain. And there are no homes right where that fire is burning. There are homes very close by, there's roads close by, but where the fire is actually at right now, it's kind of in a canyon. And it's just like anything else. It's a canyon. It's a dead end. And so the fire will basically burn in that canyon. They're using the natural hillsides as it is, as fire breaks. These guys, they know what they're doing. They're keeping an eye on those homes. They're trying to keep everybody safe. And as far as we know, everything is in check. No injuries, no structures damaged. There are some homes in the area very close to these flames, so they're saying immediate danger to some structures.
And Stu, you just gave us a shot a little while ago of some of those homes in the area there. What really surprised me, again, we always talk about brush clearance, is just how close some of that brush does come to the homes. I'm not sure if it's just the perspective from your lens or not, but of course, firefighters are always mentioning at least a 200-foot clearance when it comes to brush clearance, and we're not necessarily seeing this right here.
No one, and that's the thing. I would never want to say anything poor about anybody. We don't know the situations. This area, we do know, hasn't had a fire in a very long time. And, you know, complacency, that's one of the things, or it was always a problem. The people probably saying, there's not going to be a fire. Why should I do that? And you are very right. There's a lot of the homes in the area do not have that wide berth of brush clearance. And some of them you can see where they may have in the past, but the brush basically growing back.
Well, I do
know. Right
now,
though, the firefight definitely continues.
And Stu, I live in a canyon over in Laurel Canyon, and they have been coming by just this month. The fire department comes through, and if you haven't cleared the brush, that's not just recommended, but mandatory for the area, you get fined. So I know people have been clearing their brush actively through that area and in all canyons in LA County actively right now. So you're only required to do a certain amount of your property, but past your property, where it's burning right now is not necessarily where the homeowners need to clear anyway, but you see some people on the ground right now. I'm not sure if they're trying to get up there to try and help. I'm not sure if they're scouting, but it looks like people who live in the area.
You know, I'm not sure exactly what that is. There's some properties, lots up here, huge lots that have been for sale for a long time. Maybe these are some of the caretakers. Then it looks like they may actually be checking on some of the irrigation lines. You can see this area very green and taken care of. So possibly they're out here. Maybe their plan is to turn on the sprinklers if the fire gets closer. The fire department never really recommends that. So we'll keep an eye on what's going on. Oddly enough, you know, the irony is that many a fire that we've covered in the past has actually been sparked by brush clearance. We've heard that in the past where they've been out there doing the brush clearance and some of the machinery hit some rocks, it creates some sparks, or there's hot exhaust, and the next thing you know, there's a brush fire. We don't know that for a fact. We just bringing that up because we were talking about the brush fire, but the original call was for here on Portola. I don't remember the exact numbers. I think it was the 9500 block of Portola, and that's going to be that general area that we're showing you right there. There is a property, and right above that property where a number of firefighters are right now, this seems to be the ignition point where that fire started this afternoon and basically ran up that hillside. So if you can see a number of the firefighters up there right now, they're starting to do their climb on that hillside. Those are going to be some of those, the brush response, the guys that are, you know, they carrying those big heavy backpacks and hiking up these hillsides in this heat and working around these flames. Very dangerous, very hard work. Those are pretty much, in my eyes, the unsung heroes of any one of these brush fires, especially when the fire is out. In the end, we always talk about the helicopters because that's what we see, but those guys on the ground, those are the ones that are really doing the back-breaking work. Right now, though, the fire is doing pretty much what we were expecting it to do, and also I'm sure the firefighters from LA City and LA County making its way to the top of that hillside and now starting to slow down. Juan was very keen on pointing out earlier on that the smoke basically, or was it you, Suzanne? I'm sorry, I didn't want to give somebody credit, but that the smoke basically now almost going straight up, a little bit to the north, but almost going straight up, and that does show that it is very light winds, and that's the only positive check right now, that and the fact that some of the world's best firefighters are down there working to keep these flames in check. But it is definitely a hot day today. And the terrain is definitely not helping this situation, but it also gives you an idea. Those are people down there, and then you just kind of pan over and you see these huge flames. Those flames probably about 15 feet tall as they're working their way up that hillside. So these are very, very large flames, and that the fuel that is down there, that chaparral, that's full of oils, and it's in this afternoon burning very, very quickly, and of course heating the way and creating more fire as it climbs up those hillsides. Once it gets to the top, though, that's where the break hopefully will be. We're going to keep an eye on it for sure. 20-plus acres out here, Benedict Canyon. No mandatory evacuations, but there's people in the area should start thinking about grabbing their things and moving along.
Thank you, Stu. And we have Margaret Stewart of LA City Fire joining us. The last check, we had over 20 acres burning, helicopters doing water drops, and fixed-wing aircraft have been requested.
Margaret?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, can you give us the latest here? It's been a while since we've chatted with you last.
Yes, so we now have the fire at approximately 20 acres. We still have homes under immediate threat on both flanks, which to the north is the ridge line of Yoakum Drive, to the south is the ridge line of Portola Drive, and those leading to Benedict Canyon Drive. So that valley in there is where the fire is concentrated. We have over 200 LA City firefighters assigned in addition to LA County, both air and ground, and we have strike teams with our neighboring fire departments, Culver City, Santa Monica, and Beverly Hills. So we have upwards of 250 firefighters assigned. We have structure defense happening along both of those ridge lines, while our air resources are making continual water drops to try to stop the forward progress of this fire. Fortunately, the weather is more in our favor. It's about 83 degrees, so it's not as hot as it could be, and our winds are low, gusting up to 8 miles an hour. So fortunately, that helps us. But as you can see through the footage, there's a lot of vegetation to burn. So the structured defense is super important in the defensible space created by the brush clearance that we ask our residents to do each year. This is where you see it come into play. It gives us that chance to defend your home.
And Margaret, can you give us an idea? It must be a lot more difficult to fight a fire in a canyon than in a basin or other areas, just due to the more rugged terrain, the dips in the terrain out there.
Yes, access is certainly an issue. As I mentioned, we have kind of a dual-pronged approach here because we can't physically and safely get down into that valley on the ground. So that's where the air resources, create a continual pattern, alternating and making those drops, while our ground firefighters focus on structure defense. As they're able to knock the bulk of the fire down, then on the ground we'll be making our way in and doing mop-up. But you can't safely traverse that terrain in these conditions.
Will the firefight continue from the air past sundown, or is that an issue right now?
Well, I don't have a way, I can't really accurately anticipate that. That's several hours from now.
Right.
But even if it does, our pilots use night vision goggles. We continue making water drops all night, so that's not an issue for us.
So you can continue. I thought once it got too dark, you couldn't fly. So that's great news.
No, a few years ago, our LAFD Foundation was able to purchase night vision goggles, and we continue to make water drops through the night, as long as the weather, if it's socked in with clouds, etc. No, as long as the weather is amenable, then we can continue.
Now, Margaret, you said you have 250 units on the ground and lots of air support. Where are those units setting up? Are they setting up near Yoakum and Portola Drives, where we have the most danger right now?
They're spread throughout that area, along Yoakum Drive, along Portola Drive, and Benedict Canyon. I don't have availability to give you numbers of exactly who is where, but in all of those residential streets along those two areas, the branch commanders are looking at what areas are at highest risk, and then they send those resources in. They'll set up. They'll what we call prep a structure, meaning they'll use our gel that helps to slow any embers from being able to ignite vegetation. They'll put that on the structure. They'll put it on the vegetation around the house, and they'll do what they can to protect that home.
And Margaret, we saw people trying to protect their own homes with hoses. We saw people up checking water lines. What do you recommend in this kind of situation?
We certainly understand the desire to protect your home. We get it. However, what the risk is that if you stay too long, you then potentially become another rescue that we have to make. It's happened before when people stay, and then the firefighters have to worry about keeping them safe, which takes away from our ability to focus on protecting the homes and defending those houses. So, we're not going to physically forcibly remove anyone. We understand that, that urge to save your house. However, we're always going to ask them to safely exit early so that we can do our job to the best of our ability.
And Margaret, it looks like it's the Stone Canyon Reservoir. That's where the helicopters are getting the water, right? That they're using?
We have multiple heli-spots set up so that we have a continual supply
of water, right? From the reservoir? We saw them kind of getting it from the reservoir as well. So, and it's not too far from it.
Correct. That's one of the locations, but as mentioned, we have these designated different heli-spots designated all across the city, and so there'll be multiple ones in operation for a large fire so that we have no backup, so that they can just come in quickly, get water, and go.
Yeah, we're looking at that reservoir right now. Stu Mundel and Sky9 giving us a shot, and there's one of those helicopters getting some more water from the reservoir to do one of those pinpoint drops on the fire lines. And Margaret, was the change in weather, I mean, we knew it was going to get warm today. I mean, was LAFD already on alert just in case something like this would happen?
We were not in an increased staffing condition. We have some specific parameters that have to be met regarding weather, the relative humidity and the wind, and those were not anywhere near what would be required for us to then have increased staffing. So we know this is the season. We anticipate this happening, which is why as soon as they saw the level, the amount of smoke and the size of the loom up, they immediately requested more resources. But we were not under the weather conditions that would trigger an increased staffing.
That's definitely the good thing.
And just to catch everybody up, a 2-alarm fire burning in Beverly Crest off of Benedict Canyon between Portola Drive and Yoakum Drive. And as Margaret, she's going back to get us more information. Margaret said they are recommending people in the area not return home if they are watching this from work. And if you are in the area, they recommend that you leave, but there's no official evacuation order in effect for the area. They have been doing water drops in the sky, but we have our Roger Masterson on the ground who is out there right now, been watching everything go on overhead, and I think we're watching your camera on the left side of our screen. Roger, are you there?
Hi, I am. Hi, you guys. Right now, we're set up on the 2700 block of Ellison Drive. We're a couple ridges over from where the main fire is right now. We've seen some residents who have started watering down their yards, driveways, roofs, and that. We've also had residents coming up to us asking if there's any mandatory evacuations. Right now, we're just kind of staging here, kind of seeing which way the wind's blowing, also making sure for our safety, we've got a good escape route if winds change and everything starts coming towards us. But right now, we're just standing by, monitoring the progress of the fire.
Yeah, the brush is so thick there, Roger. Have you seen any of the people who live there in Benedict Canyon show up or, pack up a car and take off yet, or we're not at that point?
Well, right now, we're a couple ridges over from the Benedict Canyon Road area. We're a little bit further to the east from there. But this is like one of the flanks of the fires where they're hitting it pretty hard with air resources. We are, like I said, seeing neighbors starting to water down some of their yards and that, and a lot of them right now are just kind of keeping an eye on things. But like I said, they're also asking us if, what we know, if there's mandatory evacuations for this area.
Yeah, they're just saying voluntary evacuations so far, Roger, and that's for the folks over at Yoakum and Portola. In case they ask you more questions, that's what people should know.
And are there a lot of people out right now, Roger?
Right now we're seeing, just some neighbors just kind of looking. There's not a lot of traffic coming up in this area. We were seeing LA traffic enforcement sending cars in, so they're getting ready to probably block off access to some of these roads if the conditions change. Right now we're not seeing a lot of traffic where we are, but we are seeing some concerned people. And
hopefully people are getting word now, especially as we get close to the end of the workday. Benedict Canyon is one of those canyon roads people take to go from the basin into the valley, so that's going to be off limits at least for the next several hours or so. And of course that's going to put a strain on other canyon roads like Coldwater Canyon, Laurel Canyon, Beverly Glen, and even the 405. So it's definitely going to hit us harder than we think right now. This fire burning right now, 20+ acres in Benedict Canyon.
And we're going to change over to our Stu Mundel, who is live in Sky 9 right now. Stu, what's the latest?
Well, Suzanne, we've been watching this fire grow, 20 acres plus right now. It actually is slowing down. The last bit of real vegetation, the fuel, is starting to eat that up as it's making its way to the top of that ridge line. Let's get folks up to speed exactly where we are, what we're looking at, and where this fire is. Everybody's talking about Benedict Canyon. Benedict Canyon. Well, this is going to be Benedict Canyon. That's the road that's going to be basically from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen. And Portola, that's the street where this fire actually started. That was the original fire call. That's going to be the intersection right there. The actual fire itself started basically at the end of that street, where the street dead ends into the canyon hillside. And you can see some smoke still there in the area. Firefighters, they do have structure protection on both Yoakum and Portola. Portola, but in this case we're looking at Portola right now. We're hearing 200 plus firefighters there on the ground. That's a large amount of firefighters, and right now they're basically setting up, starting to make their way up onto that hillside. Now we're talking 20 acres plus. What's actually burning probably less than that up towards the top of the hill there, but you can see this area right here. This is what has burned. This is actually charred earth down there. Light smoke still working in the area. Right now, though, it's making its way up to the top part of that run. We've been watching all the helicopters, LA County and LA City Fire, making drops along that ridge line right there, basically slowing down the flames as they come to the top of that hill, and hopefully that's where they're going to make that stand and try to stop the forward progression. That's basically meaning they don't want that fire to move any farther than that point right there. That's the line in the sand as it would be. You know, you were talking about a lot of smoke. We heard Roger down there on the ground a couple of canyons away, and people out there seeing it. Let me just do one of those pans right now. So this is the fire. This is going to be in the Benedict Canyon area, but take a look at where that smoke is going. It's kind of blowing off to the north, and it's laying down a little bit, or just basically flattening out all over the San Fernando Valley, Van Nuys area, and then actually into the hills past that. So I wouldn't be surprised if people in Santa Clarita are saying, hey, I'm smelling a little smoke. That smoke is going to be coming from this fire out here, and this is just like we've been talking. Well, it is actually a large amount, 20 plus acres. Now, of course, there are a lot of homes in the area. When the first firefighters got here on scene, that was their biggest concern. Obviously, life would have been one above that, but it didn't seem like there was any immediate life in danger, but property was definitely in danger, so we got a huge response out here as quickly as they could. Now, those helicopters doing a lot of the work, dropping a lot of water out here, and have been basically slowing that progression of the fire a lot. Right now, though, is fire far from out. Those homes, it looks like they're in a better place right now. We did hear Margaret Stewart from LA City Fire talking about immediate danger, meaning that the flames or the fire is getting closer to homes or could be burning towards homes, and that's how that immediate danger is defined. Right now, though, as we're moving Sky 9, Brendan, the helicopter pilot this afternoon, and we're just going to move around a little bit. Basically, we're moving to the east, so we can show you that ridge line, and we can see how the firefighters are using the natural hillsides as fire breaks out here. And knowing how fire behavior works with these light winds, they're able to drop water on that ridge line right there, and hopefully that canyon, that little box canyon area, is where that fire is going to stop. In the end, right now, we can tell you, no injuries to any persons on the ground or firefighters, huge plus. No structures damaged as of yet, but this fire is still very active out here in the Benedict Canyon area.
Stu, we haven't seen any Phos-Check drops. Right now, it's all pretty much water drops from these helicopters, right?
Well, it's really interesting, Juan, because and you are 100% right. We're listening up. We haven't heard any. They were calling for fixed wing, almost the original calls when they were first setting up what could happen. They were talking about bringing fixed wing aircraft out here. That was one of the first things they said. I haven't been privy to the information if they've been canceled, or perhaps they are. Most of the fixed wing, we don't have the Super Scoopers here yet. Those are those big yellow aircraft that we see coming down from Canada that we lease. We lease, not we, but the city of Los Angeles leases. We haven't seen them out here yet. They're not staging, so they're not here yet. So any of the planes that we would see would come from farther airports. Maybe they haven't made their way out here yet. But as far as fixed wings, the simple answer is we have not seen any Phos-Check drops. It has basically been LA City Fire helicopters, LA County Fire helicopters, and of course those boots on the ground.
All right, Stu, thanks so much for that. I was just wondering that, Suzanne. I hadn't seen the fixed wing plane dropping Phos-Check, and I thought maybe because it was just too rugged, they were just using the helicopters right now.
Checking weather conditions is Amber Lee right now. Amber, it seems like it's not as windy as it was earlier. Right, it's not as windy, but as Stu is mentioning, we're now looking at the southerly winds picking up. So we're going to see the southerly winds really stick around until about 8 p.m. tonight. So all the fire and all the smoke pushing to the north. So it goes from the south and then it heads up north. So as he mentioned, we're probably going to see all that smoke really hitting the valleys and also possibly into the Santa Clarita area. And because it is the hottest day of the week, we have that high pressure system. It is warm, it is dry in those higher hills where the fire crews are battling this fire. I just want to point out that there is no weather station where this fire is burning. So what we can tell you is that we're seeing these southerly winds pushing in.
and that's a little bit more of that sea breeze. Temperature-wise, it's anywhere from the upper 70s to the mid-70s because there is a weather station about a mile and a half away from where this fire is burning, but it's a little bit hotter there because it's higher up in elevation. But we're seeing some gusts, especially at the ridge tops. It's going to be a little gustier at the ridge tops versus at the bottom of where the canyons, where the fire is burning.
Well, we're going to see those sundowner winds pick up definitely. We're getting some new information now about mandatory evacuations.
Yes, they've been ordered along San Ysidro Drive between Millboro Place and Beeson Drive due to the 2-alarm brush fire burning in the Beverly Crest, Benedict Canyon area. Beeson and Millboro also evacuated west of San Ysidro Drive. They're setting up an evacuation center at UCLA's Wooden Center.
So that's definitely a good thing to keep in mind. Well, we're going to continue to follow this story of brush fire burning there in Benedict Canyon. Started off about an hour or so ago. Very small fire at about 5 acres. It has now grown to over 20, and all resources right now are focused on this area there. We're going to have the very latest for you coming up next on KCAL 9 News at 4 and, of course, on CBS 2 at 5 p.m. And you can always get the very latest on our website, cbsla.com. For Suzanne Marquez and Amber Lee, Stu Mundel and Sky 9, I'm Juan Fernandez. We'll see you in just a little bit.
This has been a KCAL 9 News special report. We now return to our regularly scheduled programming. KCAL 9 News at 4. Southern California's best choice for afternoon news. In-depth coverage of what matters to you. Breaking news as it happens. Bringing the news to you every afternoon. KCAL 9 News at 4 is just ahead.
That moment when things got hot.
I love your dimples. You're making me all hot and bothered.
Don't miss a Family Feud moment.
She said, I like me some brown sugar.
Weeknights at 6 and 6:30 on KCAL 9.
I deserve my Social Security disability benefits, but when I applied, I got denied.
I applied, but got denied.
I'm Dr. Bill Latour. I'm both a...
Live on the web. Are we still live on the web? Alrighty, copy that. So, Websters, thank you for hanging out with us and sticking with us through the show and stuff. If the picture has changed a little bit and you're like, hey, why is everyone, Stu, why did you push in? What happened to all those close-up shots? They have put us up in the stratosphere. I'm thinking about popping off some pictures because, yeah, the International Space Station is coming through here any minute now. They're going to be calling out traffic. They bumped us way up because those fixed-wing aircraft are actually going to start showing up here in a little bit. Late to the party? I would say so. I can say that because we're on the web. But you know what? That's the thing. Those guys, they are on the ready, but they aren't like, they don't just run out there and take off like we do in the helicopter. They got stuff to do, and they've got checklists to go through, and they got to load those aircraft up with FOS check. They got to make the FOS check. They got to wake up the guy to put the FOS check in the plane. So it's one of those things. It's a process. So now they're starting to arrive here on scene. This fire, you know what? I'm going to just take a stab in the dark, and I'm going to say that this fire pretty much has no place to go. It is basically ran up that hillside. It's going to be at that peak right there. When those fixed wings show up and they start laying down that FOS check, that's definitely going to be the last nail in the coffin for this fire. If they didn't show up, I'm sure LA County, LA City, they'd be down there. And they'd get the crews in place, and they'd be nailing that thing down as well. So far, no structures have been damaged. Structures definitely threatened in this area. Where is this again? If you're just joining us, where the heck have you been? If you're just joining us, this is going to be in the Benedict Canyon area, off of Benedict Canyon and Portola. Portola is one of the littler streets. Let me see if I can find it now that we're up in the stratosphere. That's off of Benedict Canyon. Okay, wait, that's okay. So that's going to be Portola right there. That was Yoakum. This is going to be Portola. So this is the area where the original fire call came out. So something started on this hillside right there, ran up that hillside, basically made its way over to the other side of that hillside. A lot of hillsides. Hillside here, hillside there. The flames, as we know, they do move very quickly uphill. If you're looking at our image right now and you're saying, am I watching a video feed or am I looking at Google Earth? Well, that is because they've got us way up in the stratosphere, and we'll start moving off. But you got to understand, the more we move off, the farther away we are. and we want to go. We can't? Pushing the envelope. Well, you know, he's ex-law enforcement. You know how those people are. They just do what they want. That's true. That's my line. Oh. A lot of heavy smoke out here, but as far as the sight picture for this fire, it does seem a lot better now as these flames have basically made their last run up that hillside. They got a number of firefighters down there. They're going to start cutting lines here pretty shortly. LA City Fire doing another drop there on that ridge line. That's kind of their line in the sand, as it would be. They're basically trying to really wet that area down to keep those flames from moving as they're climbing up that hillside and then basically just slowing to a stop. As basically terrain-driven fire means it's a hill. And it basically it's going to eat the fuel as it climbs up that hillside. Once it gets to the top, it's very difficult or slow, very slow moving as it would be working down the other side, especially with the light winds that we have here today. Structure protection, it is out here in this, what is it, San Rosito area? And they're talking about a road, and they are talking about mandatory evacuations in this area right now. It's a little bit beyond me. I'm not sure why they picked this area right here for the mandatory evacuations. Possibly because the fixed wings are going to be doing drops out here. Maybe they just want to get folks out of that area. But you can see some cars driving away right now, possibly obeying those orders, or maybe they're just got someplace to go and they're on their way to wherever they're going to go. This fire burning in the Benedict Canyon area, and I would love to join you guys and read some of those comments and laugh and cry with you, but sadly, up at, what are we, 9,000 feet? Oh, we've been much higher than that. So we're at 6,500 feet this afternoon. So let me see what the, oh man, my tweet didn't send when we first arrived here. This is why I hate tweets. I don't hate tweets. But my phone seems to be angry at me again for something. Oh, no service. Beautiful drop right there on that ridgeline near that home. LA County Fire, looks like the 412 doing a drop right there. Nice work. Just in that cul-de-sac. I think that's Highland. Would have been cooler if they called it Highlander. Good movie. There can only be one. I'm worried. I'm worried. Who's flying that one? 7. Oh, no, I'm not worried. Ooh, look at that fancy sidestepping going on right there. Fancy. So some serious work here, some serious information. They're doing a lot of drops over here, and as you can see that not so much brush. You can kind of see the terrain difference from this area right here to that area right there. So you can see that it's kind of low grass, and we know that low grass burns very, very quickly. Any kind of light wind or any type of elevation, and that is going to burn so fast. So they're going to do a lot of drops right here because they don't want that fast-moving low grass to make its way over into the thicker chaparral. What happened? Well, there's a lot of traffic out here. Is he helicopter traffic watch? I'm going to pop some pictures just in case I want to tweet these later. Because I got no cell signal. Don't say because I'm making fun of a... Yeah. What? Is that even a thing? Alex is texting me, why are we so high? Because the fixed wings are coming in, man. Yeah. Hey. Who cares how tall she is? What are you talking about? I'm not going to HR with you guys. So on the outward chance that we are still live on the web, I'm just going to put it out there that this fire getting very, very close to being out. Now, what out is a relative term. You know, this isn't going to be 100% containment. All the fire is out. Those numbers, the official from the LA City Fire, is going to come much later. But active flame, forward movement. I'm seeing a lot of positive activity down there. And it does seem like this thing is really starting to slow down, but even putting out a lot less smoke as it's worked its way up that hillside in that canyon, basically boxed itself in, and really has no place to run to. Now, if there was high winds out here this afternoon, that would be an entirely different type of situation. But because of the light winds, that's going to be huge for the firefighting effort down there for their side. LA City, LA County Fire down there right now on the ground, in the air, dropping water, and we will be shortly, hopefully very shortly, joined by CAL FIRE. Some of their fixed-wing aircraft going to be out here dropping some of that FOS check out here. FOS check, you know, I don't know, should you say flame retardant or should you say FOS check? It's like saying crescent wrench and adjustable wrench. So right now, we're just going to keep an eye on this. There is some open flames near some homes out here on Highland Drive. But with the amount of firefighters that are actually down there on the ground and the fact that that area may have had brush clearance at one time, and it does appear that there is actual brush clearance right next to that home, I think that structure may be safe. But that being said, only thing that has to happen is for it to start moving into some of that chaparral, and then we've got another whole can of worms we got to deal with. Right now, though, the fire is moving a lot slower than it was earlier on this afternoon. This is burning in the Benedict Canyon area, off of Benedict Canyon and Portola and Yoakum. And right now it's basically reached the top of the ridge line, and we're going to keep an eye on it as the firefighter is doing a lot of work this afternoon trying to keep these, stop these flames from moving. And then, of course, they're going to have a lot of mop-up. This is probably going to be going on well into tomorrow. As it stands right now, though, we're hearing no homes damaged, no firefighters injured, no civilians injured. Hey, assignment desk. Helicopter to the assignment desk. Hey, just letting you know, internet service has been sketchy. Now that the fixed-wing aircraft are going to arrive, they've got us way up in the stratosphere. I have no cell service at all. I got a text from you about a link to a tweet, but I don't know if that's super old or... Copy all. Thank you. The evacuation center is the Four Seasons or the Beverly Hilton? Copy all. Copy all. Either that or they're going up to their vacation homes. The other house. There we go. First of the fixed wings arriving out here. That's that British aircraft, BA what something 175. Whoops. Oh, the camera did not like that. I know it's not just shot over. Oh man, it's really not happy now. Hope I didn't break something again. I appreciate that, and thank you for letting me know, and write a letter to Cineflex. That was not me. All complaints go to Cineflex. complaints@cineflex.com. I don't think there's actually a web address like that. Yeah. // Hey, because of the switcheroo and stuff like that, do you want to set up Freak 6? Are we going to do Channel 9 at 4? Yeah. They're waiting for the fire to be out. Then. With your blessing, I shall do this thing that you ask. Got you on 6. Got you on 6. We're going to have the show on 6 too because we bounce back and forth, right? I'm just asking. No, I'm talking to Fernando and TOC on the microwave. Oh, it's good. It's all good. It's live television, brother. That's what happens. Our Foxy friends are using our picture. Otherwise, I'd look for Roger. He said he was in a couple hillsides to the east. Yeah. I don't know if you met him. He's one of the cameramen. Very, very good at what he does. Now that I say that, with a mouthful of bread, pretty much everybody I work with is really good at what they do. Woo-hoo-hoo! Yeah! That's what I'm talking about. Good question, though, is why didn't he do it oh, there he goes, there he goes, there he goes. That's the one we want to see. All right, guys, that's not a perfect right angle. Let's regroup and try that again. Good effort on everybody's part. All right, hang on. And that is how you solve world hunger. Anyway, so first of the Foz-Check drops being laid down out here. That line just getting started. If you guys are local, KCAL 9, if you don't have that on in the background, I would suggest wandering over and turning it on. I don't know who's anchoring today. We had Suzanne and Juan earlier. We'll see if it'll be Suzanne and Juan for the show. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Juan. I don't know who the other. You know, I don't want to say co. Maybe is this co's an equal, right? Co's an equal, so the co-anchor. Juan and Lena. So it's going to be Juan and Lena. and we're going to be live here in probably about 6 minutes or so, maybe 5. I don't know. My watch might be off. Something about the rotation of the Earth and our altitude and time changes. But anyways, just letting you know, turn on KCAL 9. We're going to have a lot of news about this fire, and I would guess other things as well. This fire probably going to be a good chunk of the news, but probably not going to be wall-to-wall coverage. LA County Fire, LA City Fire still doing helicopter drops out there. When you see those helicopters start dropping water again, that means that they are cleared back into the area. So we're probably not going to see another fixed-wing drop here for a time. So I just found out they're going to Foxfield. If you don't know where Foxfield is, just think way up in the AV, middle of nowhere, desert. So no man's land. And I can say that because I live up there. So they've got quite a trek to get back up to that area, reload, and then make their way back down here. So we probably won't be seeing another Foscheck drop for... Hey, what's up, brother? Control room. Well, did you? I don't know how quick you guys can turn it around, but if you get the Foscheck drops, the fixed wings, because they're not going to be back for some time. The aircraft, all right. And if not, it's all good. I'll just talk about it. Stand by. We got 15. Oh, 50? But they're going to want us for 5. We gotta have to work with the desk. Yeah, we're going to... Right. Yeah. Well, we're taking a look at the fire out here. This is going to be in the Benedict Canyon area. They've got us way up in the air. Earlier this afternoon, Juan was asking, where are those fixed-wing aircraft? Where's that Foscheck drops? We actually just saw 2 of them do those drops, and that's one of the reasons Sky 9 is so high up in the air. They actually bumped us up. We're about 7,500 feet above the fire this afternoon. Now, we have been here pretty much since the inception of this fire, and it does, from the site picture, from what we're seeing, it does look a lot better. A lot less smoke, almost no open flames. Where is this thing burning? So people that are just joining us, this is going to be in the Benedict Canyon area. I'm going to push into Benedict Canyon. Benedict Canyon, that's going to be the street that basically runs right to left on your screen. Now, Portola, that's going to be the street where the fire was first reported, is going to be the canyon that I'm panning up right there. All the way at the end almost, that's where that fire was originally reported at. It's going to be the 9500 block of Portola. You can see some fire engines down there. A lot of ground crews are out here as well. We're over 200 firefighters on the ground down there, and then you add in the helicopters dropping water from LA County and LA City, and so there is a large contingency of firefighters out here this afternoon. As it stands right now, they haven't got an update on the acreage. It's been a little bit. The last ones we were hearing was about 20 acres. That number might bump up a little bit higher. Now, the streets that we're looking at right there, that's going to be Yoakum. Earlier on, that area was in immediate danger. And then there was also the Portola area. As I pan off to the up to the top of the screen, this is going to be, I believe it's called San Yosito Road, and that one right now, this is where the mandatory evacuations have just been called. We don't know why they're picking this area. They're probably just playing it very, very safe. They don't want to have any issues if there is any wind changes. So right now, that road that we're showing you right there, under mandatory evacuations. There's also another road through the smoke that you can see. It's a cul-de-sac, a lot of firefighter activity there. That's because they had some flames getting very close to some homes. That's going to be Highland Drive. That's going to be a cul-de-sac. Highland Drive is the name of that. Earlier on, they were worried. There's some light grass out there, and we did see some flames getting very close to some homes. They did do some water drops, and of course, they've got the structure protection in place. Right now, though, there is 0% containment. There is still an active firefight. It does look a lot better, but as far as the fire being out, it is definitely not, and this firefight probably will be continuing well into the night. More Foscheck, meaning meaning the fixed-wing aircraft with that red sticky stuff. That probably is going to be happening as well. You can see some of those lines that they started right there. Right now, though, they're back to the helicopters dropping water. Live in Sky 9 over the fire. I'm Stu Mundel. Back to you two in the studio. Okay, copy. Poor Lena. Every time she throws at me, I don't hear it. Is that the air boss or a dropper? Oh, that's a Bronco, though. No, that's, yeah. I think that was a Bronco. Hey, assignment desk checking in. Who is this? Who's on the radio? And Samo. Yeah, Mark Lou's calling himself Insamo. I'm messing with him. No problem, but we do have fuel that will not take us to the top of the 5. I know you're going to say, Van Nuys is right there, Stu. Your turnaround time should be like 10 seconds. They've got us up way up in the stratosphere, so our turnaround time is going to be extended. Yeah, we can see the Chino one from here. At any rate, we're going to need fuel. I mean, I understand if you say go to Chino right now, we probably could stop at El Monte. Yes, they got us up at 75, 8,000 feet. We've been watching it pretty much since the inception. Yeah, I can see the header. Exciting news, exciting news. You know we are. And then it's gonna be there for the top of the 8. Well, the good thing about Chino is farmers' boys. Copy, thank you. But they're talking about sending us to Chino, right? Oh, okay. All right. You can put your 2 cents in. I'm always willing to listen. I value your opinion. No. My dogs drop their bones in my pool, so they're not bone dry. They're bone wet. You missed some gems of information, brother. Yeah. What did it say? I might be able to use it. Up. Pause check. What did you ask? You are, that's for sure. I think that's why they paired us up. She'll be training in another helicopter. That would be us, the crew headed to the fire. Yep. I'm going to kind of bring that up when we do our update in about 7 minutes. Well, I was just going to say, yeah, if we have to go, we have to go. Yeah. But I mean, it isn't like, you know, Brennan can be like, I'm bored with this, I'm out. That doesn't work. Yep. Woo, look at that. You can see all the ground. I like it. That's awesome. You can see the water like roll down the hill. Yeah, like you can saw the trees moving and all this steam come out. I don't think officers really say that, do they? What? Yeah, because the Glendale ones were misbehaving in his eyes. I guess that is Chino, right? That's Chino. Yeah, that's Chino. It's funny, when you say Chino, for some reason I'm always thinking Orange County, but then Chino actually is north of the Orange County area, right? Oh, jeez. No love. No love for anybody. You'll learn very quickly that Brendan is not a fan. If you were going to do the what he likes and what he doesn't like list, it's... Barricade, perimeter, suspicious packet. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you. I'll let the desk know. Simon Desk, the show has released us. What is our plans? That's proper English, by the way. All right, copy. No plans for Chino? Let's go. Not a problem. Heading back to Van Nuys. That's the Bronco. That's the guy that's calling out the orders. He's the big shot. Well, I don't know about that, but he's calling out the orders. Yes, strange voice on the radio. All right, copy. I just talked to somebody else at the desk, and we are cleared. The show is done with us, and we actually are making our way back to Van Nuys for fuel. Yes, we are up in the stratosphere. It doesn't look like we're moving quickly, but we're probably doing about 100 miles an hour. Oh, come on. Well, we got it. That's what counts. And assignment desk, I'm sure you're looking at the picture, and this is the fire, the Benedict Canyon fire. There is very, if any, open flame. The smoke is so light you can see all the way to the ground on the entire, all of the fire area. Just letting you guys know. There's a fire in Chino? Why don't people tell me these things? Why am I always the last to know? .211, TOC on 2.